Welcome to Like Love Stories. We are going to help you connect the dots from like to love and all the things that you go through on that journey.
Now, we are here to share stories of modern love, dating, relationships, and the beautiful magic of real human connections, and why Like Love is changing the game.
I'm Christina.
And I'm John, and we're good friends.
With great stories that I think you're going to like.
I think you're going to love.
We have got a great lineup today for all of you. We're going to talk about all of the fatigue in swiping and, navigating the algorithms and, swipe left, swipe right, like all that whole culture that is so prominent right now, and why Like Love is actually a better way.
Right. Well, I mean, anytime someone becomes single, it's like the first thing their friends ask them is like, are you on the apps? Right? Are you on the apps? And not everyone knows the downfalls of the apps.
Yeah.
And what that is. So we're going to get real about that. We're going to talk about that. And then we're going to talk about, what it is that someone needs to do in order to kind of be ready, feel their best, become the person that they would want to be, to date the person that they would want. Right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Christina, now I love what you've done here, what you've created here. I think it's absolutely phenomenal, but there's been a real reason why you've done it, right? This is not just, hey, this is something I enjoy. Like, you see the need for this for individuals, and the world needs this. People need this. Tell us a little bit about what it is that caused you to kind of put it together this way to help people find their person.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a lifetime of things. It's, what went wrong when I met my first husband, my second husband, and then what went right when I met the third one, right. 3 times a charm. And I used to be embarrassed by that, but I'm not, because I learned, I made mistakes, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there listening that have found themselves in the same position, that they've made some mistakes. And so it's super clear to me where all the things I missed along the way that were right there in front of me. And, some of it was on me. Some of it was a lot of work I had to do on myself. But then there were some things that I was just very naive about when meeting other guys. So there's all of that experience. Most recently, when I found myself, I was going through a really rough divorce, found myself in a marriage with somebody I loved so much. And I had been betrayed over and over and over again. I only found out about it pretty much all at once, but it had been happening for a long time. So it's like, 10 years of my life, I was in a marriage that wasn't real. That was pretty hard to handle. At the same time, I lost my dad. So I lost the 2 most important people in my life at the same time. And then also my son was going to college, another major life change. I also changed jobs. I was 18 years with a company and decided to, change jobs, and it required a move to Arizona. So 5 massive life changes I was going through at the same time. And so one of those being, single in my 40s, moved to Arizona, and just what it took over a 2.5-year period. That's how long it took me to meet Matt. So when I say 50 plus dates, it's only because I think I lost track after 50. So there was just a lot of them, right? And just all of those experiences. And don't get me wrong, I met some really great people along the way that I'm still friends with, you know? But there was a lot of, challenging, a lot of challenges through that process. So that, not just that, but then meeting Matt. And I feel so fortunate that I had the wherewithal to keep going, because what I'm hearing from people now is that they're giving up.
Yeah.
They're honestly giving up. Yeah. They have been at this for a long time. They're discouraged. They're frustrated. They're sad and lonely, and they are just giving up. And I cannot just stand by and let that happen. I feel like there's so many incredible men and women who really do want to find their person for life and just can't get there, And I just think there has to be a better way. And now is the time. Everyone is sick of swiping. They are sick of the swipe, And so that's a big part of the inspiration, is my personal experience, but then having found my person.
Yeah.
And that he wasn't really what he wasn't really my typical, what I looked for, right? But that whole journey, but most importantly, finding my person and the happiness I have.
Yeah.
And I feel like I want everyone to find their person. Like I have this burning desire to help people get there. And you know what? People who join us have to be willing to, face some facts about themselves too. I personally had to do that on my journey. So, when you come into our community, we're going to support you. We're going to help you. You have to be open to also, looking inside and, doing some work yourself so that when the person presents themselves, you're ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So all of that was kind of the inspiration. And I really felt compelled there's a lot of matchmakers. There's tons of them. But I see some of the dating events and they look like name tags, 8-foot tables, cafeterias,
Awkward.
Weird environments that don't feel inviting and warm and natural. So that was the other thing, was creating a different experience where people walk in and immediately like, oh, this looks like fun. There's music playing, there's drinks and food. It's casual, it's comfortable, it's inviting, and it's fun, you know, and, we want to be different in that way.
Yeah. And it's not just anyone that can get in and do it. That's one of the hard parts, is if it's like a speed dating or anything, it's just you feel like it's a cattle call, right? It's not like a curated group of individuals that you're like, these are people who are ready for a relationship and ready to find somebody. That's so different.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think, one of the things we all value in the dating process is safety and transparency. And we want to make sure that everyone who applies, that we have some time to vet them out and make sure they are who they say they are. They have like a LinkedIn profile, some social profiles. Like we have to be able to validate their identity. I mean, that I know, having gone through some of that, you've gone through some of that too. Like, that's really important to us, is that we are cultivating community. One of my partners, Ricky, she talks about community all the time. She's our chief marketing officer who is really responsible for creating amazing life-changing experiences. She's got a very long history and great resume of doing that. But we always talk about you're going to come into love and meet a whole bunch of people you like and one that you love.
Yeah.
Because when you come in, we want you, when you come to one of our events, John, if you came, we hope you find a couple wingmen there that you guys could go hang out together and have a beer, or go play around a golf, or whatever it is, that you're gonna actually meet friends. And even the women you meet, if they're not somebody that you want to pursue a dating relationship with, you make new friends that are like-minded, looking for the same things, that like to do the same things. So we are really proud of the community we're creating and the type of people we're attracting. And so, yes, our socials are invite only, and you have to be a member to be selected to come. And then we do it by age group. So you mentioned speed dating. I think they have a pretty wide, range of how old you can be to come. So you could be 30 and everyone there is 50, you know what I mean? And that might not be what you're looking for. So we're trying to do it as best we can in age brackets, so that when you come, you are in a room full of people that are like-minded. Yeah. So it's really cool.
I love that. I think the world is ready for it, because what's been happening, and we're going to talk about this. I mean, what's been happening with the app scene is, it just is so, there's not another word to say it. It's just inhumane, right? For centuries, the whole dating, courting has been a community involvement piece, right? This has not just been two people. The whole community's been involved. It's in person, it's human. And then we all shift because of, obviously, all the apps that are available. We all shift now, and it's not working. So for instance, people who are getting burned out on the apps. Tell us a little about that.
Yeah. I mean, I think burnout happens a lot of ways. First of all, it's just this monotonous swiping every day, and this constant need to see who's out there. Who else? What next? Who else?
Right,
you know what I mean? Is somebody better around the corner? And I think the swiping culture breeds that, always looking for the next best thing, which is demoralizing for people, and I think men and women are doing it. They're having 10 different conversations with 10 different people at the same time, and wondering why they can't make anything stick. Well, if that's the behavior that you're, exhibiting, you're not gonna be able to truly find something meaningful, right? So there's that. There's also this whole culture that goes along with the swiping and the algorithms, is this constant upselling of like, if you pay $20 more, you're going to go to the top, the feed or whatever, and you're going to be viewed by, more people, and your profile is going to be featured if you pay $5 more today. It is, and it's like, it does create this like addictive behavior, and you get addicted to this kind of stuff, and you spend a lot of money, and you're not even meeting somebody in person yet. So like, I think that's the other thing about like love, is that you're going to skip that for the most part. We're going to match you with people that you've like the things that you're looking for. We're going to find those people, and we're going to bring them together, and we're going to have a fun evening or a fun dinner party or whatever the activity is you decided to join us on. But I mean, that's what makes it special. You can't get a spark with somebody swiping.
No.
It's that in-person, like intangible feeling you have when you start a conversation with somebody and like you connect, it's magic.
It is. And it's, one thing I do love about it, and quite honestly, just cannot stand about the apps, is how inauthentic the apps are, right? Guys are not really that talented when it comes to this. Like, we're just not as emotionally developed as a woman, right? And so a lot of guys, they're getting on there, they don't know what to do, they don't know what to say.
Yeah.
So a lot of times their profiles have been put together by their friends or their sisters or their whoever it might be, right? And they're putting it together, curating it for this, to make this person look a certain way.
Yeah.
Or they're worse, they're going online and getting tips from like who knows where on what to say and how to do AI. Exactly.
AI is writing the profile.
And you're building this relationship, right? And you think you're building it with this person who's represented by the profile, and you meet them, and it's not the same person.
Yes.
It really is not.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I think people, and I know this, it happened to me, but I also see it with my friends too, that like they start talking to somebody and it's a texting. They're not actually talking. They're more maybe talking on the phone, but really more texting for a long period of time. And you develop this false sense of like, oh my gosh. I mean, I have done it too. I'm guilty.
Oh, yes,
guilty as charged.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. And it's just the way this person talks and the way their sense of humor on text. Like, it's not real yet. You haven't met it, but you kind of fall into this thing where you think like after a week of texting, oh my gosh, I think this is the guy. I think he could be the one. I mean, have you experienced that?
Oh,
Have
absolutely.
you done that?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And then you meet them and you're like, okay, this is nothing like what I thought it was. Right? This is not person.
There's zero chemistry.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, that whole time that we've been building this relationship, they've been coached. And you can tell, like, they've been coached by friends or they read a book or whatever, and that's not really who they are.
Right.
But if it's in person, you're really meeting this person, it's authentic.
Yes.
You're going to know who they are.
Yeah.
Right?
And again, I go back to when I met Matt. I don't know that he would have been my number one to swipe on. But we did have that intangible in the first 10 minutes, like, oh, he's funny already and he's cute and like that thing that when you meet somebody,
Which makes it real.
It does. Yeah.
I agree. I agree. So that's why I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing because I think it really does make a huge difference for individuals.
And it's efficient. Like, I'm sure from your perspective, one date at a time, one dinner at a time. It's expensive. It's only one person at a time. Where if you come to one of our socials, you're going to meet 10 or 20 people.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? It's more efficient. And I think what we're aiming to do is get a lot closer, quicker to the person you're looking for. Like we're trying to, take away some of that waste of time and effort and make it a more efficient process.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know you've had this experience as well. It doesn't matter how much you've vetted someone on an app or like you've looked on their socials, checked out all this stuff. It doesn't matter how much. Like sometimes you go on a date and you're just like, I've just wasted an evening or I've wasted a weekend because really there's the date night where you set it up and you've had the conversations and okay, let's go out. And you're like, this is not a person I want to spend another 10 minutes with. Yeah. Not in a bad way. Like they might be lovely, but you're like, this is kind of a waste of an evening.
Right.
And there's so many wasted evenings or so many wasted weekends because it isn't efficient. Right. It isn't. Like you don't really get to know people. But there you're like, oh, okay, great. You have a 10-minute conversation with someone and you're like, oh, okay, this is not a match.
I know.
But I'm going to talk to someone else. And that's great.
Exactly. You just go. And, the other thing is, like, I think because everyone has been through behind screens for so long, we're starting to lose the art of flirting,
Yeah.
starting a conversation and flirting. And like that used to be just a very natural thing because back in the day, we didn't meet on a dating app, right?
No.
We met through our friends or through events or, whatever. People are a bit awkward and I think they need a little help. And and one of the things, like I went to a speed dating event, and again, if you met that way, that's awesome. Like I congratulate you. But like it was a weird, would you talk about awkward? Like the girls stay sitting and the guys keep rotating around. And it just was like, oh my gosh, I don't know. It was not natural.
Yeah.
And so we want to make it as natural as possible so that when you come, it's really a fun time and that you look forward, and you might not meet your person at the first one, but you're going to meet a bunch of people that are cool.
Yeah.
And like, you'll come to the next one and the next one until you meet your person,
Right.
and then we keep matching you, and it's just personalized. It's human. It's real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Now you said flirting. Like people have forgotten how to flirt. And for my guys here, like top tip, and again, I had 7 sisters. My sisters would legit come home from a date when I was like a little kid. And they would sit me down and be like, if you ever do this, you were the worst boyfriend ever. If you ever do this, you're the worst ever. So I've gotten coached from my sisters growing up. And we think that flirting is something that you do to like find your person. Like I'm going to flirt, like it's the beginning. But the truth is you flirt throughout an entire relationship.
Yes.
Right? You're flirting if you're doing it right.
Yeah.
You have this great long-term, beautiful relationship. You're still flirting with her and she's flirting back at 10 years, 20 years, right? Like the flirting never stops. So if you don't learn that, it's not like, oh, okay, well, I jumped past the first step. No, it affects the rest of your relationship. If you don't know how to flirt and play and have fun with the person, you're like, no, we're in a relationship and this is what we do. It's supposed to be life and fun and happiness,
Yeah. And I think COVID had a big effect on people's ability to communicate and connect as well, because we weren't seeing people the same way. And people go on dates and treat it. It's so not natural and fun. It's like an interview. It's just like, what do you do? What do you do? It's like like the startup kit for a first date and these questions that, and it's, and then the girl leaves like, that was really weird. You know what I mean? And I mean, I coached my son about this. I mean, he's only 27 and I mean, he had a lot of dates, and that could be a whole thing, as a mom, having been through it, and your kids really don't want to hear what you have to say or listen to you. But he actually came to me about that. He's like, I think my problem is I have no problem getting a date. I have no problem planning a really nice date. And like, I'll go somewhere nice. Like I'll put thought into it. But he's like, something goes wrong for me when I'm on the date. Like there's something, I'm not connecting the dots somehow. We talked about it. And he said, I think I don't know how to flirt. And it was such a great, and he's a COVID kid, he graduated college and then boom, COVID hit. He worked remotely, not a lot of interaction, that whole thing. So, recognizing the problem is part of the solution, right? So, you have to work on yourself a little bit too and know what some of those things are. But certainly in-person connecting is so much better.
It is so much better. Now, Christina, one thing that everyone hears, like when you start dating, right, is you need to be the person that you want to date. Yeah. Right? You need to. And a lot of times people have these unrealistic expectations of who they're going to be dating. And they don't align with that. And then they find themselves really frustrated. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And no one's perfect, right? Yeah. Like you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have a 6-pack and be 6 foot and do all these things. But you do need to improve yourself. So what are some of your tips on someone who's starting, they're like, they're single and they're like, I want to, in an intentional way, start to date. How should they start to take care of themselves or improve themselves to be at the level of the person that they would want to be with?
Sure. So I think if I go back to my own personal experience first, I was mentioning my whole story around, I was getting divorced. I lost my dad, that whole thing. So when I started dating, unbeknownst to me, even though I didn't carry, I think what I carried with me was sadness. So I didn't even though like my ex-husband, cheated on me and all of that multiple times, I actually didn't, when I started dating, I was never suspicious. I didn't ever go into it. And I did start dating somebody fairly soon for a few months. And I remember him saying to me, I am amazed with what you went through that you're not suspicious of me. You never questioned me. You never I didn't carry that with me because I got counseling around that and I worked through that on my own and figured that out. So I didn't carry that with me. What I did carry with me, though, was sadness from the death of my father and just the loss of a marriage, right? And so I don't think I recognized that I was putting that out there, a little bit. That I probably, when I went on dates, or even the way I talked, or even the way I wrote my profile, any of that stuff, I was probably projecting some of that. And so that's not good. You know what I mean? Because,
Tell us about projecting on your profile. I want to hear this.
Well, all right. So then, I get into dating and I'm just running through. I mean, I would have 5 dates on a Saturday sometimes. Yeah. I mean, it was ridiculous. I was like a machine because I was so determined. But, you go through this process of meeting people. And then, like you said, you put all this effort in, you come home. It's like, another one that was not a fit. Right. Yeah. And it does get frustrating and discouraging. And I think like through that, my profile started out one way with the way I wrote my profile, did my pictures or whatever. I was all excited to be in Phoenix and, new, fresh start, all the things. But then like, as I get these experiences with people that are so not what I'm looking for, I start to correct and rewrite my profile over and over again. Right. And one day I was at a networking event and I found myself sitting beside somebody who helped people write their profiles. She was like a love coach. And I thought, oh, this is so fascinating. I can't wait to talk to her. So I talked to her through the whole lunch. She was amazing. And then I actually scheduled time. Like I scheduled a consultation with her and she helped me rewrite my profile. And it was hilarious because she pointed out to me that like it had a negative connotation. Like I kept meeting people and I don't know why I was attracting this kind of person because this is not me at all, but people who like to camp, they have 4-wheelers and side-by-sides and all these like, these off-road vehicles. I don't know why, but like, I don't like that. I don't camp. I never camp. I don't care if it's the sexiest RV in the world. I'm not going. It's just like not what I'm interested in. Right. But I kept attracting these really woodsy, outdoorsy guys and just like, they were just, none of it was lining up for me. But anyway, she taught me some things. She said, let's read your profile. And I had gotten to a point where I was writing in my profile, I'm not looking for this. Don't even bother like messaging me if you like to do this, or this. I'm not interested. And I only am interested in like, I sounded evil. I'm sure, like super negative. And when you pointed that out to me, I was like, oh my God, you're so right. This sounds awful. Like I sound really like jaded. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that wasn't my intention, obviously. And the other bit of advice she gave me that was really great that I didn't recognize either is I'm really direct. I have a big personality and big energy. She's like, your pictures need to look really feminine. Like, because you are a big personality and you need to soften everything. The way you talk, the way your pictures are, the way you present yourself so that the guy can lead. But what I realized about myself is that that marriage I had, he was gone a lot, traveled a lot. So I had to take care of everything. Our house, my son, my own career. Like I was the boss of my life, right? Yeah. And I had been taking the lead so long, I didn't know how to let somebody else take the lead. And she really talked to me about that. And I'm really glad she gave me that coaching and candid feedback. So she helped me kind of redirect my profile. Like if your idea, if you're spontaneous and, she gave me this as an example and I thought it was good. If you're spontaneous and like to jet set off to Vegas for the weekend to see a show and blah, 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 then, you could be my match. And if you like to do this, this, and this, then we could be a fit. Like, so she had me reframe all of it. Like, if you like to do this, I like to too. If you like this, I like this. And it was very positive sounding. And then all my pictures, I wore skirts and dresses and I looked more feminine. And it actually made a difference. I immediately noticed a different kind of guy reaching out to me, believe it or not. And I was a little like, is this really going to work? I was a little bit of a skeptic, but it did. Like, I definitely noticed a difference in who was reaching out to me.
Yeah. Interesting. Now, Christina, I have to admit something. Like, I will tell you, with my profile, after, dating and everything, coming back to my profile, I got a little negative as well. Like I got a little negative where one of I think the last profile I had, I think, where they have the prompts and it
Yes.
says, so the prompt was, don't hate me if, and my response was, of course, don't hate me if I won't play pickleball with you. Which I feel better. I know you love pickleball.
Well, no, I actually have only played once. I want to play pickleball
Yeah.
more. I just don't have time. But I understand because people are obsessed with pickleball right now. Everywhere.
Right. And then after that, I got a little more jaded. I I hate admitting this, but I wrote, hey, I'm not accepting any projects.
Yeah.
I almost feel bad about that.
Yeah,
right?
I did the same thing. I wrote something like, I want somebody that the renovation is done. Like, I actually wrote that in my profile, and I'm like, gosh, I'm
Renovation's
so
done.
evil. No wonder, like, and I got some nasty messages, but like, I get it,
Yeah, you just get a
Yeah.
little bit jaded. You get tired of it. You get worn out by it.
Yes.
Because it's really not a human experience.
I
in the way that
know.
we need it to be. Right?
Exactly.
So, one thing that I really appreciate about you, Christina, as a friend, and one reason I know you are a real true friend is you will tell me what I need to hear, whether or not it's going to hurt my feelings or whether or not it's going to be easy for you to say to me, right?
Yes.
And I have appreciated that so many times. And so when I really need good advice, I come to you. And when I'm like dating someone and trying to decide like, hey, do I want to take this further? The test they have to pass is meeting you, right? You and Matt,
So
you can
funny.
read them, you can see, and because you do have this ability to see through people, to read people, to see their strengths, to see their weaknesses. You have that ability, which makes you like the ultimate wing woman for everybody when it comes to like love, right? Like you really have that ability. And, this big part of this is people improving themselves,
Yeah.
right? We've all got our red flags. We've all got our backgrounds. We've all got our histories. What's really important is improving yourself. So what are some of your thoughts on what people can do to really improve themselves if they're really going to be dating in an intentional way?
Yeah, and I think I got a little bit of experience getting better at this skill
Yeah.
with people because I have a business called Serendipity Executive Search where I match candidates
Mm-hmm.
with companies. So I do a lot of interviews, a lot of coaching as they go through the interview process to get a job. And really, there's a lot of parallels in that, in dating and dating a company to, secure that position, right? And level up your career. So I got a lot of experience kind of, with people and their ability to take coaching and feedback in the same way. Like if you really want this job, let's craft your story and let's make sure that it makes sense and it's relevant and, believable.
Such a
And
fit.
it's true. It's
Yeah.
authentic, but we got to craft it in a way that doesn't make you look bad. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because we all have our stuff. We all have our experiences that we bring into this experience. So that gave me a lot of groundwork, I'd say, for this type of work is
Mhm.
helping people in that way. So I think like when you're about to dive into dating, you really have to take a deep dive into yourself. And how are you showing up? And really think about that because we all have blind spots.
Yeah.
Like we definitely have blind spots. I talked about some of mine today that somebody else helped me with that made a difference, and we have to be willing to be honest with ourselves about the things we had to work on. When I moved here and I started dating, like I said, I had sadness. I had to figure out how to work through that so I wasn't projecting it at a date or my
Right.
profile or whatever. I had to work through that. I had to work through, and I did this professionally and personally. You've mentioned this a lot of times that I'm very direct, to a fault, like it or leave it, it's kind of the thing, but I've had to learn to like soften that, to have really good, healthy relationships, friendships, but work relationships too, So you have to figure out what your thing is that you have to work on.
Yeah.
Another example, my son, I've mentioned that he's dating. Thankfully, he's found a really awesome girlfriend that I absolutely love. I joke and tell him she's good for him, but even better for me. But I mean, he was at a place where he had this laundry list of prerequisites for this girl he wanted to meet. And I had a tough conversation with him. I said, yeah, but you're not that guy for that girl. Have you looked at yourself lately? Like, you're not doing the work that makes you the type of person that this girl you're describing is going to want to date. And it was a really hard conversation to have with your kiddo, right? But, he was mad and got probably defensive and, we had words over it. We had, some drama over it. But then like a few weeks later, when the emotion subsided, we sat down and came over one night and we had a really long conversation. And he said, I was pissed when you said it to me, but I thought about what you said and I started to really think about what you said and that there's some action required on my part,
Wow.
and then was able to say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And he did it. It's such a good story because he did what he said he was going to do. He needed to lose some weight. He had gained a ton of weight. He lost the weight, got to the gym, got his act together. He has a really great job. He got promoted. He worked even harder. I said, he wants to make more money. I go, well, how are you going to get promoted? You want to make more money? How are you going to be more valuable to the organization? That's on you. What are you going to do? Took massive action. And then literally that girl presented herself. And I have to say, she's pretty much everything on that list. And I'm even surprised myself that he found someone that met all of these things he was looking for.
He had to improve himself to get to that point.
Had to improve himself.
Yeah.
And he also had a bad attitude about dating, like we just talked about.
Yeah.
For us, it translated into our profiles. For him, he had like an edge to him. And I said, if you don't think people sense that when you meet them, you're wrong. You have a little edge, a little attitude about dating and women. There's something there based on, all of these dates that you've had that hasn't transpired into anything serious. You've got to lose your tude,
Yeah.
And that was one of the things. And so, if you get really focused on being the best version of yourself, and I did that too. I had work to do myself. That person will appear.
Yeah.
But when you're not in a good place yourself, you attract people who are not in a good place either.
Right.
You're like a magnet for it.
So for women, what would you recommend for women if they're going to improve themselves? They've got this idea of who they want to date.
Yeah.
And maybe they themselves are not reflecting that. So they need to improve themselves, just like Ethan did.
Yeah.
What would you tell them to do?
Well, I mean, the reality of the situation is, whether we like it or not, we are in a world where looks matters.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it does, right?
Yeah.
So, if you want a guy that looks good, takes care of himself, dresses well, whatever it is that's important to you, remember, he's also looking for that. That type of guy is also looking for that. So you have to get yourself to a place where you are that same kind of person that guy, and also manage your expectations. I mean, I always recommend make a short list of non-negotiables. Like, what are the absolute most important things to you in a person? Yeah. And it can't be everything because no one's perfect. And, and then what are the things that you can overlook and live without? And kind of keep that in your mind. I did that before I met Matt. There was certain things that I was just like, okay, here's the 3 to 4 things that I absolutely have to have. These are like flexible.
Nice to have.
Nice to have, but not necessary.
Yeah.
It's a good exercise to do.
That's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good. Now I have to say for the guys.
Yes, tell me. I want to hear from you.
4 guys. And every guy is thinking, I need to improve myself. And they set the goal, honestly, too high initially.
Yeah.
Right? Look, what they've done studies that have shown that if you lose 20 pounds, people notice.
Yeah.
Right? That's the barrier. So if you lose 10 pounds, most people won't notice. You lose 20 pounds for some reason. So it doesn't matter where you are in your fitness journey or in your health and wellness. The goal should be 20 pounds.
Right.
I'm going to get to 20 pounds and then set another goal.
Right.
And your goal might be long-term for the guys like, hey, I want a 6-pack. I want all these things. That's great. But if that's what you're starting out with and you have not done it before, you might fail and then beat yourself up. So I always find it's better just to say, to lose weight in chunks of 20 pounds. I'm going to go, this is my next goal is 20 pounds to lose. The other piece of it is men have to work on something in their lives, some project outside of everything else, right? Yeah. Something that they're building, something they're doing, whether it's a business or anything, right? Like writing, whatever it might be.
Whatever.
A hobby, right? Because a lot of times what guys will do is instead of really trying to figure out their own purpose and build their purpose, they're like, no, I want to be in a relationship and that's my purpose.
Right.
But I think that's off-putting for women. Tell me, like, when you've dated the guys that are like, I'm all in, I've got you on a pedestal and all that kind of stuff. It's too much, right?
Yeah. I mean, I will give Matt credit about that. One of the things I liked about him, he skis, he dirt bikes, he spends time with his boys. Mm-hmm. And to this day, we're now married. We both do things separately.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, we golf together. That's more of a fun thing for me. Like, it's not serious. I don't keep score, but I like going out. I like being outside, whatever. But he seriously golfs with the boys more than he golfs with me. He skis with them. I hate the snow. I never want to see it again. I don't ski, but I happily send him on his way to go
Right.
ski with them or his friends or whatever.
Right.
There are things that I like to do. I mean, my mom spends the whole winter here. So I spend a lot of time with her. I don't force him into coming with us for
Mhm.
everything. Like, we have our own separate things that we like to do, but I was attracted to the fact that he does have a lot going now. He
Yeah.
always, pretty early on, we established, you know, in the beginning, he didn't always make me a priority, and I course corrected that at some point. It came
Yeah,
to a
good.
head, and I was like, hey, this is not working for me. Let me tell you why. And, you know, we need to figure this out, kind of thing.
Mhm.
But we separately had our own things, and never was there a time where I made him do stuff with me or he expected me. Like, you want to ski? That's great. Just don't expect me that I have to be a good skier. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
good to have separate things that you're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You've got to. That's so good. And then lastly, I mean, for guys, like, you know, you've got your fitness, you're working on your fitness, you're working on your purpose. And then, like, quite honestly, for guys, you got to get your money up.
Yeah.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
You got to take care of your financial health. You
Yeah.
have to. It's an important piece of it,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
those are the things I would tell guys to do
Yeah.
is your next goal with your fitness is 20 pounds, right?
Yeah.
And eat better, hit the gym, but just focus on 20 pounds, make it easy, work on your purpose, and then, of course, get your money up.
Yeah.
And that's all important to build yourself to the person that then you would want to be with, or you are the person
Yeah.
that resonates with someone that you would want to be with, right?
I have a friend, it's funny, who was single and probably in her really late 30s, early 40s. And I remember her telling me, this is kind of funny. She was the one that told me about the list, that I needed to do this list. This is a long time ago. One of the things, even on her list, like her home, this is really interesting too. And I get this now, but even made her home ready for someone.
Really?
Okay. So
Wow.
like, she initially had one nightstand.
Mm-hmm.
She got two. So there's one on the other side of the bed, two lamps. She wanted somebody she's fairly tall. So she wanted somebody that was a certain height. So she got a bed that was a little bit longer. And, you know, she, like, everything in her house, she looked at every room and, like, in the garage, made space for somebody when she found her person, that, like, he would walk into that house and feel like he could be a part of it.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
That
Even with
is.
the decor,
Yeah.
not making it too crazy feminine, like making it very inviting when you have a guest over. And I think there's something to that. And I will say, when I walked into Matt's house, I almost passed out because it was beautiful. I was like, did you do this? Like, who lives here? I mean, am I at your parents' house? What is happening? But he hired somebody to help him. Now, I know not everybody can afford to do that or whatever, but he felt it was important enough
Yeah.
at this stage of dating. And he was in his he was about 40. And he's like, I want my house to look good when I find my person. And his house was beautiful. And I noticed, like, I walked in and I was like, oh my gosh. I was in shock and I was so impressed.
Well, no.
Because to me, it showed that he cared about it. He was organized. He kind of like had his act together. He was also a dad of boys. So he created this great space for his boys to come over to, which I felt like was a value.
Mhm.
Like, it was something that he did for them, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
And yeah, so all of that, it's really
So
important.
important. So, you know, men and women, we need to work on ourselves to become the kind of person that will resonate with the kind of person we would want to date.
Yeah.
Right. And then when we kind of get into that flow and that momentum of our life, that positive momentum, and we start dating, right? And being in that positive momentum, we're able to better see some of the red flags
Yes.
that are out there. So, Christina,
Yes.
you know, tell me a little bit about the red flags as a woman
Yeah.
that you see that you know, cause concern.
Well, here's the thing. I think, like, having gone through all those dates, the 50, 70, I don't know how many dates I had, and me working on myself at the same time and becoming better of, like, who I was, when you get to that really good place that you're in, it's easy to spot them. And that's
Yeah.
why I ended up having 50 to 70 dates, because I was like, oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's not an option for me. You know, you get really decisive,
Mhm.
which is why I had a lot of first dates, not a lot of second. I was just very decisive. But I think some of the red flags I experienced, and I'd love to hear yours from a guy's perspective, a few that I learned not to ignore guys' obsession with their phones and hiding their phones and being super
turning
secretive.
it so that you can't
Turning it, taking it with
yeah.
them every time they get up. Like
Oh,
this
sheesh.
unnecessary, not normal obsession with like being secretive. And
Yeah.
I would say secretive in general is a red flag. Like anyway, you know, when your gut tells you something's not right, unless you have your own trust issues that you have to work through and that's your problem. But like, I always feel like if something doesn't feel right and you feel like that person's being secretive about maybe how they spend their time,
Mhm.
gaps in communication, where all of a sudden, like, they're very attentive during the week, but then not on weekends. That's a red flag for me. What are you doing on the weekend? Are you married? Like,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is cause for concern if every weekend they kind of drop off the face of the earth and then come back Monday morning.
Right.
How was your weekend? You know, like everything's fine.
Yeah.
That's a red flag. So I would say the phone thing, any kind of behavior that seems off, you should not ignore. I
Yeah.
ignored way too many things along the way, and it didn't bode well for me. So I would say, like, trust your gut. I mean, don't be a crazy person, you know, make sure there's a good reason for it.
Mhm.
But I would say there are red flags. And I think, like, if you are concerned about something, have the conversation, have a
Mhm.
rational, calm conversation about why somebody's making you feel the way that they are. You know, when you
Yeah.
do this, I feel like this, I don't know if it's valid or not, but like, can we talk about it? You know?
Mhm.
But I think what are some red flags that yours are probably different than mine.
No, for me as a guy, right? And
Yeah.
and I'm in my 40s, and there no one's perfect
Yeah.
at all, right?
Yeah.
And we're all going to have some red flags.
Sure.
But what I really watch for
Yeah.
is that being known. Like we've all got some red
Yes.
flags. Is have they done the work on improving themselves past those red flags,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And do their actions align with their words? Because a lot
Right.
of times they will have the vernacular, right? They've gone
Yeah.
to some therapy, they've learned some words, and they know a little bit about how to sound like they've done the work,
Yeah.
but their actions don't align with someone who's actually done the work to improve themselves to kind of
Right.
get over some of these red flags,
Yeah.
right? So I don't have a specific list of red flags because no one's perfect, right?
Yeah.
But if there's certain behaviors and everything, they say, hey, I've learned from this, or I had a previous relationship and this happened and I'm not proud of this, but I've learned from it and I've grown through it. Great. That's beautiful.
Yes.
Then do their actions ongoing align with the kind of
Yeah.
person that would have grown through that?
Yeah. I just thought of another one, I think, and you probably had this too, but like kind of controlling behavior early on. Like
Sheesh.
a lot of like texting and asking a lot of questions, like in an untrusting way. Like, dude, we've been out twice or 3 times, whatever. We're not even a permanent thing yet. Why are you grilling me?
Right.
That's not normal. And shut that down.
Yeah.
Like that is a major red flag. And I
Yeah.
had that with a couple of people too, where they were like, you know, I haven't heard from you and blah, blah, blah. And like confrontational about communication. I'm at work. I have a job. I can't text all day, you know?
Yeah.
But it's a major sign of insecurity and
It is.
controlling behavior. Run, don't walk.
Run, don't walk. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One thing I do love that you said is we really do know, like you're feeling something's off,
Yes.
right? Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah.
If you feel like something's off, like investigate it, have the conversation, and do it quick. Don't wait
No.
forever.
exactly.
Like if you
Yeah.
see a red flag and it's
Yeah.
clear, just be done, right?
Deal
Like,
with it, handle
the
it, have the conversation. And if you don't like the way the conversation went, move on.
Yeah.
Next.
I have literally broken up with people that I have loved this individual, absolutely loved this person, and the person was unwilling to have a conversation about something that was bothering me, a
Yeah.
red flag, unwilling to have the conversation. I was like, I'm done.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure it shocked her, but I was like, I'm not going to pretend there's not a red flag. And if you're not willing to have the conversation, you're not
Yes.
willing to work on the relationship, this is a dead end.
Yes, because
Right.
if she's not willing to have the conversation, like she doesn't value like your feelings
Right.
and the action that she's exhibiting and the way it makes you feel and the effect it's having on you, like not willing to have the conversation, then where do you go from there?
Right.
You can't. Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
Well, Christine, what I love about what you've done here with Like Love is you're solving the app problem by removing it, right? Like
Yeah.
you're turning this human, you're making it human. People know now what they need to do to improve themselves. Just get a few steps of momentum in the right direction.
Yeah.
and they know how to watch for some of those red flags,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
when you got the momentum, you know how to see the red flags. Now you're at a point where you're really ready for like love.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes, yes. And we can't wait to meet all of our new members that are joining us this month. It's going to be so much fun to get together at our socials and mix a mingle, clink glasses, do some cheers. And I didn't mention that, we have a guided experience. So,
Mhm.
when you go to like speed dating or something like that, you might have gone to, it's just this, what do you do for work? Blah, 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 these standard questions.
Mhm.
We're not doing any of that. We actually created these fun conversation cards with questions to ask as you work the room that are thought provoking, that are like you talked about the art example, like,
Yeah.
on the last episode about, when you're on a date and you take the little
The
walk
walk,
through the
yeah.
art district so
Uh-huh.
that you can talk about something else. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's kind of the same thing in our socials as we've created some really fun questions that get you talking about not the standard like dating startup kit questions, they're like fun questions and fun topics. And you can pick whatever questions you want as you work the room and meet new people. And we're going to guide you every step of the way. So it's going to be really fun. And yeah, it's going to be cool.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, I'm excited about the next episode. We've got so many fun ideas, so many fun things that are coming.
Yes, absolutely. I can't wait for the next one too. And our next roster of topics. Be exciting. Never a dull moment.
Never a dull moment, that's for sure.
That's all for today. I'm Christina
And I'm John. And we're good friends.
with great stories that you'll like.
Oh no, you'll love.
See you next time.